welcome to the Arron football channel. Now, before we start today's video, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has supported and contributed to the channel since I started it the other day. It's been quite overwhelming. Quite a lot of people have got with it and engaged with it, which I was quite surprised about, but still delighted with the response. And yeah, if I'll keep making this kind of content, and if you continue to like it, please continue to give your support, and any more suggestions of content to put out in the future is massively appreciated. So yeah, just a massive thank you to everyone who's got with it so far, and hopefully we can keep going forward. I've said that again. So in today's video, we are going to review the results from game week 1 in the Champions League and point out some potential favourites for the trophy, maybe even some dark horses that might go far in the tournament and get through to the knockout stages. But yeah, we'll look through the results and go through, who's looking good and who's looking not so good. So yeah, let's get into it. So starting off with Group A, we probably had the biggest tie of the round, which was Bayern Munich and Manchester United, ending up in 4-3 for Bayern Munich. Only managed to watch the highlights. I've only really watched the Arsenal game from this game week. So, but going by that and going by some of the other things that I've looked at, it looked like Bayern Munich dominated it for probably a lot of the second half and at least the end of the first half, and were very clinical in front of goal when it came about taking their chances, which Man United have been criminal for over the last few weeks. In general, the first thing I did notice, looking at United from the highlights and from these average positions here, is that Casemiro is acting as a single pivot for them just now and the only defensive midfielder, and he's not getting any help from his midfield two in Eriksen and Fernandes when Bayern Munich are on the attack. Particularly the second goal when Gnabry got a cutback from great work from Jamal Musiala on the left wing. There was no midfielders even close to the edge of the box, let alone the box to pick him up to stop him having a shot off. It's crazy to think, given that Casemiro, being one of the best defensive midfielders on the planet, has not got the defensive awareness to track back, not even to the edge of the box, but let alone into the box to pick up the extra man. Man United, I think, really need Amrabat to come back from injury very soon to act as a double pivot with Casemiro, and particularly in these type of games where they're going to struggle and lots of chances will be created by a team as good as Bayern Munich on the night. They really need to get their act together. Bayern Munich, however, looked very strong on the night with lots of fluidity in attacking positions, with Kane starting to link up with his forward line of Sané, Musiala and Gnabry, and all of them kind of chipping in on the night, with Sané and Gnabry getting goals, Musiala getting the assist, and Kane, of course, scoring his penalty as well in the second half. So they're looking really good going forward. Bayern Munich, they've got a really good forward line and great double pivot in Goretzka and Kimmich there. Only thing that worries me is them defensively, which they've conceded 3 on the night, 2 and albeit at the very end of the game, but it's the only thing that would worry me going forward is them defensively. But I think certainly Bayern Munich are looking very good for the tournament going forward, and could be right up there towards the end. Now over to the other game in Group A, which was between Galatasaray and FC Copenhagen. This finished 2 each on the night, with Galatasaray battering them in front of goal. To be honest, they could have scored much more than 2 goals, and to be honest, FC Copenhagen were just far more clinical with the amount of chances that they got, which wasn't very much. And yeah, Galatasaray were quite lucky in the end, but some good goals from Sasha Boy and Tete, who's on loan at Leicester last year, I think. They never really got a look in, but they worked hard, to be honest, in the end, and created a lot of chances. And I think looking at their team here with likes of Mario Icardi, Mertens, Ziyech, Zaha, who came off the bench as well, they're looking really good going forward, and I think they will score a lot of goals in that group, albeit they'll have to play against Bayern Munich and Manchester United, but I think they can certainly compete against certainly Copenhagen and Man United for sure. I think they'll get a few goals against both teams in the coming fixtures in that group, and might even be a shout to when if they drop down to Europa League and third. I'd imagine Man United would finish second in this group. Could do quite well in the Europa League and have a good run with the squad that they've got. So it's just need to wait and see how they get on. But not the great result from Galatasaray, but performance wise and how they created so many chances is quite promising for them going forward. Now going over to Group B, the match between Arsenal and PSV. Watched this one, being an Arsenal fan, and we absolutely annihilated PSV. They looked bright, to be fair, PSV. Noah Lang and Bakayoko on the wings were causing some problems, but their end product into the box was just not good enough, and it was breaking down, in the starting midfield and things for them, and we just pounced on them at every opportunity and were really clinical with the chances that we got. The goals, particularly from Jesus and Trossard and even Martin Odegaard as well, were just so precise and great finishes at each occasion. So yes, we're looking really good in that group, and it was a really strong performance. Probably the most complete performance we've had this season, with everyone kind of chipping in with really solid performances. And I would think the lineup tonight is probably the strongest that Arsenal could field at the moment, albeit Martinelli's out with injury and would be able to contribute highly on that left wing. But yeah, Arsenal looking really strong in that group, and I expect them to get through it quite comfortably with the other group games that they've got. The other game in Group B was between Sevilla and RC Lens. They they matched each other out, to be fair. I was quite surprised. I thought Sevilla would, especially at home, would run away with this one, with Lens starting the league quite poorly. I think they're down the bottom of the league, to be honest, after quite a good campaign last season where they got into the top four, and obviously they're now into the Champions League. But yeah, looking at Sevilla's squad here, I expected a little bit better of them, with likes of Nesri up front, Campos who got the goal on the night, Rakitic, Lamela still a solid player, boy Digimon Sao, signed from Frankfurt, is a good solid player. Sergio Ramos as well, being back at the club as well, would you'd thought it'd give them a little bit more defensive solidity. But to be fair, the goal from Lodge the night was a great free kick from Fulgini, and but yeah, I expect a lot more from Sevilla, to be honest, and it's a great result for Arsenal getting a draw from these two teams, with Arsenal now topping the group and no one else winning on the night. I think you would expect Sevilla or PSV to finish second in this group, but with Lens performing the way they did on the night, you never know what could happen in that group. Next up in Group C was Real Madrid, one of the biggest clubs in the world, of course, coming up against Union Berlin, which I believe would be their first Champions League campaign in their history. Nearly got a great result at the Bernabeu. It was 0-0 for pretty much the entire game. To be honest, looking at the highlights and things, Real Madrid did batter them in front of goal and probably should have got a lot more goals than they did. But that man again, Jude Bellingham, I can't believe he's got another last minute winner. Just seems to pop up in the right areas for them, and just seems to be that guy at the moment that's getting them through games. And they're creating a lot of chances, but they've just not got the players up front at the moment to put them away. Although Jude Bellingham is certainly putting them away, but yeah, they really need Vinicius to come back soon to give them a wee bit more going forward and stand up in good stead for the tournament, because I'm quite worried about them. I think their group's okay. They've got Napoli in their group as well, which is probably the biggest threat to them. But yeah, I think Real Madrid might struggle this year in the Champions League, with other teams looking a lot stronger in the opening stages. Other game in Group C was between Braga and Napoli. And looking at this one, Napoli looked to have dominated this one, creating a lot of chances. I think Victor Osimhen could have maybe scored a hat trick on the night, to be honest, and hit the post a couple of times, and with some other opportunities mixed in there. He's looking really, really sharp again, and as he did last season when Napoli won the league in Italy. So yeah, Braga were actually unlucky. They got it back to one each after absorbing quite a lot of pressure and creating a few chances, to be fair, and looked fairly decent on the night. But yeah, I think Napoli will be quite comfortable competing against the likes of Braga and Union Berlin in the other matches going forward. So probably a straight shootout between them and Real Madrid for first place. I would actually struggle to call that, to be honest. I think the games against Napoli and Real Madrid will be really tightly contested, and of course, whoever wins those games, I think will finish top of the group and get an easier draw into the knockout stages. Now over to Group D, which not is not necessarily the group of death, but I think most of the teams in this group are quite even. To be honest, they're all probably as good as each other. This game in particular, Real Sociedad and Inter Milan. Sociedad had a really good season last season in the Spanish league, and Inter Milan, of course, one of the best teams in Italy as well. So this was always going to be an even match. But to be honest, on the night, Sociedad being at home, they dominated Inter Milan and limited them to maybe one or two chances. Of course, they scored quite late on in the game and won each, but Real Sociedad could have easily scored more than one goal in this game and were creating quite a lot of chances with the likes of Kubo, who's looked bright for them in La Liga early in this season. But Real Sociedad looked quite decent in this group, and with the likes of Benfica and Salzburg as well still to play, they could easily top it with them still to play at Sociedad Stadium. But we'll just need to wait and see. I think Inter looked quite poor on the night, but I think looking at the lineup here, they benched quite a lot of players and rested quite a lot of their starters that done well after thrashing AC Milan at the weekend as well. So yeah, it's one that we'll need to look out for in this group. I think anyone could progress in first or second. I don't think there's any shoe-ins to really progress, but yeah, Real Sociedad looked really impressive and Inter Milan didn't. So yeah, we'll just need to wait and see. Now on to one of the shocks of the first game week, with Salzburg beating Benfica at home, with Benfica being the top seed in the group and Salzburg being, in pot four. But yeah, even Benfica, to be honest, were always going to struggle. They went down to 10 men very early on. A handball decision ended up with Salzburg's first goal as well from the penalty spot. But Salzburg were threatening early on as well. They looked really bright. And yeah, they created quite a lot of chances. And of course, they're going to do that when Benfica are down to 10 men and makes it virtually impossible for them to get back in the game. But Salzburg, I think, in general on the night looked impressive anyway and could probably cause problems to Inter and Sociedad in the other games that they've got going forward. Benfica, with arguably the easiest on paper, fixture for them to play in the group, have not taken any points from it. So it's going to be a long campaign for them, I think, and they might struggle to get out of the group, which they have done quite well over the last few years. They've got into the knockout stages quite often. So we just need to wait and see if they manage to get out in a really competitive group. It looks like, and one to look out for with this campaign going forward. Up next, you had Lazio and Atletico Madrid in Group E. They drew one each on the night, with Atletico probably edging it chances wise, but Lazio looked quite strong and created some opportunities as well, and it was quite an evenly matched game in general. But the moment of the night was the goalkeeper scored in the 94th minute, which you don't see often at all. Great header, to be fair. So that would have been a real moment, and will probably spur them on for the rest of the Champions League campaign. I would say in this group, these are probably the two favourites to finish top and progress out of the group. With Feyenoord and Celtic on paper not having the best of teams in comparison to these two, but I think in general this could be a very competitive group with all four teams at home, having a really good crowd at home and being able to spur the team on from there. So yeah, we'll need to see how each team gets on, but early stages these two look quite strong and will be tough to beat, especially at home. As mentioned, the other two teams in Group E are Feyenoord and Celtic, and they played at Feyenoord Stadium, with Feyenoord coming out as 2-0 winners on the night. Celtic, to be fair, looked quite well going forward and matched them up. For most of the first half, but then I think by Calvin Stengs had a free kick, and Joe Hart should have done a lot better. I think with the shot, and just before half time, Feyenoord went in. 1-0 up, and after that, I think Feyenoord kind of took over. Of course, Celtic then had a couple of sending offs. One of them probably unlucky with Lagerbeek getting a second booking, but I think it was a boy Holm came on. It was not a good challenge at all. Deserved to be sent off and put them down to 9 men, and really had no chance from then. And to be honest, could have been lucky to come out with it just being 2-0 at the end. We've come down to 9 men. So, yeah, tough night for Celtic, and obviously great for Feyenoord to now top the group, of course, and we'll be looking good, going forward in this group. But, Celtic will be looking to bounce back, and with home games coming up, they'll look to take advantage of that and try and get something out of this group after an early setback like this. Now over to Group F, which I would regard as the group of death, certainly with AC Milan, Newcastle, Borussia Dortmund and PSG, who honestly, like, anyone could finish first and fourth in this group. But yeah, with this game, AC Milan and Newcastle, AC Milan, I watched most of this game, and I couldn't believe the English media at half time were saying that Newcastle were in the game and had done really well. Honestly, AC Milan could have been easily 2-3-0 up at half time. They created so many chances and cut Newcastle open many occasions. Newcastle kept possession really well, but just didn't do anything with it at all on the night. Didn't create really any chances. AC Milan were really unlucky to not come away with something, but just have to be more clinical in these games. And arguably, Newcastle, you would think, is one of the weaker teams in the group, and AC Milan should have really taken advantage of that, especially being at home. So, yeah, but it'll be really interesting games between all the teams, I think, with them being not quite evenly matched. But we'll just need to see how each team gets on going forward in this group. Now over to the other game in Group F between PSG and Borussia Dortmund. PSG were very good in this game, to be honest. They looked, and it's been lacking for a long time. They've been relying on individuals for so long, but they looked really fluid and a lot of cohesion between the players in this team, and they look to be building quite a good squad with the people that they brought in, the likes of Ugarte that started, who had a good game, Colin Moani, but then they had Gonçalo Ramos that came on up front as well. Lucas Hernandez is holding that that left back spot really well and has been defensively sound. It's bringing the best out of the squad and a lot of players, and I think PSG could probably have quite a good run. After saying that any team could finish first and fourth in this group, I think PSG could walk away with this one and finish top. But you never know, it is quite a tough group, but I would fancy PSG to finish top and possibly have a good run at the Champions League. They've probably not got the star names now that everyone else seems to has and that they had in the past, but with a good manager within Luis Enrique now, I think they could really do well going forward. Looking at the Dortmund team, they struggled on the night, and I don't think they've got any real attacking threat that can certainly cause damage to PSG, but they might struggle against the other teams in this group if they really don't get a vocal point in, like Sebastian Haller back in to start causing teams problems up there. But yeah, we just need to see with Dortmund. It's early stages, but PSG look really good starting off this campaign, and could do quite well going forward in the group. Okay, now over to Group G, match between Young Boys and Leipzig. Young Boys, I think, are going to really struggle in this group. Like Man City and Leipzig, who they played the other night. They done well. They come back into the game. Leipzig had opened the scoring really early from a set piece. Young Boys got back into it, but Leipzig on the night were so fluid and created a lot of chances, particularly Xavi Simons for them, who is a really good start. And I'm surprised, to be honest, that he's been let out on loan. from PSG, who bought him back from PSV. um, but yeah, he's been great for them. At the start of the season, and it was great on the night again. And yeah, it's causing defences a lot of problems. And I think they were just young boys were just bet by the better team on the night, and I think Leipzig could do very well in this group with Red Star Belgrade is the other team in this group, and I think they'll comfortably beat them as well in their games. So Leipzig are looking really good, to be honest. So could pose a threat in the tournament. In the later stages and stuff if they get through. But I think Man City will top this group quite comfortably, and of course will be the favourites. To win it. Now on to Man City's game with Red Star Belgrade, and it seems to be a theme this game week that teams are dominating against others and creating so many chances, but just not being clinical enough, and then the other team taking advantage, which Red Star did here. Played on the counter really well, and their striker ran through and goal and slotted one in. To go 1-0 up at the break. Man City would have been shocked at that. I think Man City I think they had about 20 shots, 25 shots by half time, which is just crazy. It's a shot roughly every 2 minutes. So yeah, they were probably unlucky with chances and things, but yeah, I think it's a sign of things to come in this group. With City playing certainly against Red Star and Young Boys, I think they'll comfortably beat them and dismantle them home and away. Game against Leipzig will be quite interesting. I think Leipzig look, as I said, quite a good outfit. But yeah, I think as I said, Man City will coast through this group, and yeah, we'll look to probably try and win this again, and we'll be favourites to do so. I think with other teams right up there that we've discussed, and I think there's one more team that in Group H that are looking really well, and could be right up there towards the end of the season. I just want to quickly touch on Man City's average positions here. You can see that Sergio Gomez was the left back on the night, or I mean, on paper was a left back on the night, but fundamentally played as a left winger on the night, with Phil Foden here dropping into midfield and congesting that area, with Rodri, of course, as the single pivot, and Mateus Nunes coming in as well, who seemed to have a decent game in that area as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting formation from City. Certainly, they've had the kind of traditional three at the back with Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, and Nathan Naki, but interesting tactic to push Sergio Gomez right all the way up and have those balls swinging into the box constantly for Haaland and Julian Alvarez, which clearly worked when got 2 goals on the night. So yeah, an interesting tactic from City, trying to suffocate that midfield, I think, of Red Star, and it looks to have worked quite well. Eventually, when the goals started coming in on the night. Now over to Group H. This match was between Barcelona and Antwerp. Barcelona absolutely dismantled Antwerp. They were, I think, from this game week, looked the most impressive going forward. The front three of Lewandowski, João Felix, and Rafinha just looked so fluid and knew exactly where to be, and were very clinical, and just especially João Felix. I think he has really came to life at Barcelona. I think after a couple of years struggling at Atletico Madrid, he's kind of found that place on the left wing for them, that, and he's really coming into his own. He always had the potential, I think, to do so, but he was really impressive on the night, and yeah, Barcelona just completely controlled the game, and I think we'll look very comfortable in this group. It's quite an easy group to get out of, and I think they'll go really, really far in this Champions League. They've still got such a great squad. If you look at the midfield, the likes of Gundogan, who was so good for Man City last season, Frenkie de Jong and Gavi, still got Pedri to come back in. Really good defence as well. João Cancelo now coming in as well. They've got a really strong squad, one of the strongest in Europe, and I think people forget that. So yeah, expect to see them, really challenging for this Champions League title this season. And finally, we have the last game of Group H, which was between Shakhtar Donetsk and FC Porto. All goals in this game were scored in the first 30 minutes, with Porto running away with it and eventually win the game 3-1. Yeah, Shakhtar, we're okay, but just couldn't really get into the game and lacked that cutting edge in the final third. But yeah, Porto looks very clinical with boy Galeno scoring 2 goals early on. Looked very good in front of goal. But yeah, looking at the squad here, I don't think it's one that's going to massively impress in this tournament, and probably could get out of this group with Shakhtar and Antwerp not looking very great in the first game week here. But yeah, I don't think they'll last too much longer when they get out of the group, if they get out of the group. That is so. Yeah, quite an easy group for Barcelona, I would think, to get out of and hopefully push on and get to the latter stages of the tournament. So yeah, that's my review of the first game week of the Champions League and kind of an overview of looking on and looking forward to the next stages of the Champions League and who's going to be right up there. I think the likes of Man City, certainly last year's winners, will be right up there. Bayern Munich, I think will run away with that group. That they have Barcelona, as I touched on, will I think be really impressive as well. I think Arsenal as well could be right up there. They challenged City, right to the very end last season, and I think could be really competitive as well. So they're probably the four I'd be looking at that are the favourites. But as I say, I think teams like Real Sociedad look really impressive that people don't really think about, that they could do really well, I think, once they get out of the group. So yeah, could be an interesting campaign. We'll touch on that as the group stages progress, and we'll look and see if we can identify anything else to look at on the channel and get some content from that as well. So yeah, thanks again for watching, everyone, and of course there'll be some more content soon, but I thought I would touch on this today and look forward to what's going to be a really good Champions League season. So yeah, thanks again, cheers, goodbye.